Everyone, John Childress with Simi Paranormal back with another exciting video for you guys today. Okay, we've been talking about ghosts and spirits and whatnot. Thought we'd change tactics a little bit today. We're going to talk about UFOs. And we're going to talk a little bit about, let me go back a step. We could take this 100 different ways. We could get completely lost. There's so much we could talk about. The UFOs and the government and the UFO cover-ups and the UFO, aliens already here on Earth, the reptilians, the grays, the humanoids, all the different things. Today I'm going to ramble a little bit and just give some thoughts on it, and we'll do some other videos later. So when we talk about UFOs, a lot of people, one of the first questions everybody asks is, well, why is it always, why can't we get a good picture? Why is it always a blurry picture? Well, if you study the phenomenon, one of the ways it said that they travel is with an anti-gravity matter, that they actually move space and time so that they, so they create this field around themselves, and that's how they can travel all these distances. It's basically taking a shortcut. So that field around them would be fluctuating, and of course there you get the blurry picture. But again, we don't really know how they travel, so that's part of the thing. The other thing is what are they? Where do they come from? Are they space aliens that travel from different worlds to check us out? Are they time travelers coming back from the future? And the reason I say back from the future and not to the from the past, one of the arguments people get in when I say that is they say, well, time travel is not possible. Well, yeah, not now. We're talking about, civilizations that are maybe millions of years advanced, or again, in the future. Who knows how far in the future it was before we discovered time travel. Another one is that they're interdimensional beings and they can travel between dimensions. And again, that's why they're always blurry, because they're simply slipping through the veil, and that's how you see them. So, everybody's got an opinion. I don't have one over another. I think when we do find out, we will be absolutely shocked. It's kind of interesting how much the government's letting out all of a sudden. Either something big is coming, or they're just tired of trying to hide it, and we're getting too smart for them, which we've probably been for a long time. But anyway, that's my thought on that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the possibility of them being aliens. That comes from a lot of different places, and let me show you what I got on that. So it's always talked about them not being aliens, because life doesn't exist on other planets. If we actually believe that, that makes us very egotistical as a race to think that we are the only race that exists in this universe. So Harvard University astronomy professor Harlow Shapley speculated on the number of inhabited planets in the universe, saying the universe has 10 million suns. That's a 10 followed by 18 zeros, similar to our own. 1 in a million has planets around it. Only 1 in a million has the right combination of chemicals, temperatures, water days, and nights to support planetary life as we know it. This calculation arrives at the estimate figure of 100 million worlds where life has been forged by evolution. Now, forged by evolution would mean more than just microbial life in a rock or under the ice somewhere on, Jupiter or Mars, though that kind of life would still be an interesting find and probably set the world on its ears. 100 million planets that's possible that life has been forged on. When? How long ago? Are we ahead of some of them? Are we behind some of them? Are we millions of years behind? Are we tens of millions of years behind? We don't know. So again, just because we can't get somewhere, look what it takes us just to get out of the Earth's atmosphere, and you're talking about somebody traveling light years to get to our planet. One of the things that has been used for years is the Drake equation. This was created by a gentleman named Drake, and as you can see, the number of civilizations with which humans could communicate is what he comes up with. So R means the rate of star formation. F is the fraction of stars that have planets. the mean number of planets that could support life per star with planets, a fraction of life-supporting planets that develop life, fraction of planets with life where life develops intelligence, fraction of intelligent civilizations that develop communications, and the mean length of time that civilizations can communicate. So the problem with this formula is that all of those numbers are unknowns. And so obviously you can see what they came up with on the other end at, millions of planets. Okay, so then we look back a little bit on the history of where we are today on what we think and what we believe. We have Roswell, New Mexico, 1947, one of the most well-known supposed UFO crashes. There was many before that. Aurora, Texas, in the 1800s, where a body was supposedly crashed into a windmill, and they buried a body at the bottom of a well. There's another one where they were supposedly buried a body in a cemetery, but at some point somebody dug it up and took it. They say to hide it from people who are searching for it. Others say just for whatever reason. So Roswell, New Mexico, the Army Air Corps announced that they had captured a downed alien spacecraft and humanoid bodies. The next morning, suddenly they had recovered a weather balloon. This material you see here was supposedly able to crumple back in. You could crumple it and it would, return to its original shape. There's supposed to be pieces of metal with hieroglyphic type writings on it and whatnot. The humanoids were then told to be experimental parachute dummies. Why you would have them with a weather balloon, I don't know. I don't know the truth one way or the other. So I can only speculate with everybody else. But of course, that went from, like I said, downed UFO to a weather balloon pretty quick. The new report has, they opened it up again, and it went back to weather balloon for the final time, and such as that. One of the things you hear about, though, the ranchers and the people that were on the site were told to keep their mouths shut. And when some said, "What if I don't?" They were told it was a big desert and it would be hard to find them in it. Then we come up to the newer times, 1980s. We have Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar came forward, said he had worked at Area 51. He worked at a section of Area 51 called S4, which was down the road from Area 51. People say that area does not exist yet. If you look at satellite maps, the area he says it exists at, there shows roads going over to it. Bob was recruited from Los Alamos Labs by somebody to come to work at Area 51 to reverse engineer captured alien spacecraft. Bob's problem was that Bob was, I think, a little bit of a loner. He started bragging about it, took some of his friends out to the desert, to Rachel, Nevada, out to the black mailbox, showed them tests of the UFOs flying around, and he got caught doing that. He got caught by his employers. They, anyway, let him go. Now, if you talk to the schools he said he attended, they said he never attended them. If you talk to some of his friends at places he says he's worked, they said he never worked there. And for a long time, he was being very discredited. Some journalists and people have dug into it a little bit. They have found yearbooks with him in the yearbook. They have found paychecks with his name on it. They have found records of his employment. So some of the cover story is starting to fall apart a little bit around Bob Lazar. One of the things that Bob talked about that helped the spaceships fly was an element called 115 on the periodic table. The problem is that there was no element 115 on the periodic table. Now, up till 1999, you can see here that the periodic table only went up to 111 elements. And so Bob was being very discredited for that fact. After 1999, the periodic table changed. And if you will look right there, magically, element 115. And so, again, Bob, so in the 80s, Bob was talking about element 115. In 1999, element 115 did not exist. As you can see, it does exist now. Was it from the reverse engineering? I don't know. But anyway, that is part of the history of Bob Lazar. So UFOs been around for a long time as far as we know. We have cave paintings, petroglyphs of what look like spacemen. All of the ancient cultures talk about the star people. The Egyptians, the Mayans all talk about coming from the stars. They all point to Orion. Well, let me go back. They don't all point to Orion, but many of them point to Orion as their origin. The problem was you're talking about cultures that didn't have any interconnection, didn't have any way to talk to each other. So the Egyptians and the Mayans and the American Indians all believing that we came from Orion, that we built models of Orion on the ground, as on the ground as is above, was the saying. So they built copies of the constellations. You have pictures of UFOs in Renaissance art that, you know, depict UFOs. You have this one here shooting this beam down to this lady from up above. And, you know, again, if we go back to this one, if you look here, you have a picture of a gentleman hidden back in the back of this painting looking up at the UFO. Jesus on the cross with, again, flying machines in the pictures painted with people in the flying machines. Were they supposed to be angels? Were they supposed to be space travelers? I don't know. You have the problem is that people didn't have the technology to say, well, that's a flying saucer. Well, you know, they didn't know what a flying saucer was. So it was a god or an angel or a spectral being of some sort. March 13th, 1997, one of the most famous sightings we've had recently was the Phoenix Lights. This was viewed by thousands and thousands of people, tried to get discredited by the Air Force. The governor of Arizona kind of made a big joke about it and absolutely upset a lot of people. He's actually come back and said he saw it and he fully believes that it was a UFO. It was not flares as reported by the Air Force. And again, you have the one that just came out recently. Now, this came out recently. This is 2021. I believe it came out in 2020. This is from 2004, though. This is from the fighter jets over Pacific Ocean out of San Diego on maneuvers. Came across these UFOs that they chased. They call them the Tic Tacs. Now, they have them on film. This one here, if you watch the entire video, this takes off and just kind of disappears. People who have done the calculations on how fast it was traveling say that it couldn't travel that fast with a human occupant as it would kill them, because it's been believed to be that it could be Chinese or Russian. What I've heard is that if it's Chinese or Russian, that the American intelligence agency is completely falling down on the job to have missed something that somebody could have created like that in another country and we didn't know about it. And it would be very embarrassing if they had that technology and had got that far ahead of us. So anyway, it's not a new phenomenon. Wasn't the term flying saucer was coined back in the 40s. A gentleman flying over Mount Rainier saw a trail of them flying by and said they look like saucers turned upside down. Thus the term flying saucers. UFOs then became, unidentified flying objects. And let's be very clear with that the U is very important when we talk about UFOs. Not every, we call every flying saucer a UFO. It's not a UFO. If we knew it was a flying saucer, then it's a flying saucer. But we figure out it's an airplane, it's an airplane. If we don't know what it is, then it's a UFO. The new term is UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena. There are USOs, unidentified submerged objects, which are the ones that they talk about off of Catalina Island and between Santa Barbara and the Channel Islands. There's supposedly an underwater base there that's obviously never been confirmed, but there's a lot of sightings there. There's a lot of sightings off the coast of the Atlantic coast. Nova Scotia and Canada has a lot up there, and in Alaska also. Mount Shasta here in California is another hotspot for UFOs. Again, what are they? I don't know. Where do they come from? I don't know. Why are they here? I don't know. Beta Reticuli was another area that's pointed to. Of course, it wasn't called Beta Reticuli when the ancients talked about it, but they pointed to the star cluster, which creates Beta Reticuli, and said that's where the gods said they came from. So anyway, we'll get into some other stuff about it. I just want to touch on it a little bit. And, if you have any thoughts about what you think it is, let us know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. Share us with your friends and let us know what you think. And if you have a suggestion for a video, let us know what it is, and we'll see what we can do to get it out. So anyway, y'all have a good one. We will see you next week with another video. Have a good weekend.